afternoon and welcome to the Penn State community. I'm Ben Manning and we are all very excited to have the future class of 2024 join us today. Congratulations on your offers of acceptance to Penn State. Graduating high school and choosing where to go next is an exciting time, and all of us here at Penn State understand that right now it might be a little more complex to you. And that's why we're hosting this series, to answer your questions and let you hear from the leaders of Penn State, the faculty members that are going to be teaching you, fellow Penn State students and alumni. And let me tell you, you're really lucky today because we have two people who just graduated and we are so proud of them. And they're already making a difference in their community and the world. This is the last of the 4 Q&A sessions, and today we're going to be focusing on the value of a Penn State education, something that is on a lot of people's minds right now. If you've missed the previous live sessions, please check out the recorded videos at class of2024.psu.edu. On May 14th, Dr. Barron and other Penn Staters discussed Penn State's flexibility to meet individual needs and covered topics including fall deferrals, financial questions, and international students and the new Flex Start program. On May 18th, Damon Sims and others discussed the Penn State student experience and covered topics including the college experience, transitioning to college, and more. And on May 20th, Maureen Harden and others discussed the strength of the Penn State community and covered topics related to the ways that the community fosters impactful connections among students and alums. Hosting the discussion today will be Penn State President Dr. Eric Barron. Thank you so much for joining us. Also joining us today will be Steve Wagman, who is the National Healthcare Business Leader for Siemens Industry Building Technologies and the 80th President of the Penn State Alumni Association. Thank you so much. Robert Wolf, who lectures in economics at Penn State Lehigh Valley and is an advisor at the Lehigh Valley Launchbox. And here we go. These are the two people we're very excited. Sachelle, we are so proud of you. You're one of the newest grads from Penn State Lehigh Valley. Thank you so much for joining us. She also launched a business while she was a student here at Penn State. And Nathan, again, so proud of you. Congratulations, a new grad, class of 2020, student athlete, and he has been accepted into the College of Medicine's Early Assurance Program. Thank you all so much for joining us. Dr. Barron, would you get us started with a few words?
Sure, happily. So first of all, I want to provide my congratulations again that you've been accepted at Penn State. It's a tremendous accomplishment. It says a great deal about you, and I just hope you can have taken a moment to celebrate your accomplishments and the wonderful potential that lies in front of you. And second, I want to thank you for joining this broadcast and allowing us to answer your questions because I know you have many, and this is a big decision, an important decision, but I know Penn State is here to make sure that you can be truly successful. I also hope you had the chance to listen to the earlier discussions. That first session, how important it is that your institution that you choose has the type of flexibility that Penn State has to offer. Our campus structure, our ability to move between campuses, 20 years of a world campus expertise developed, top 10 in online undergraduate degrees. These have given Penn State the expertise to be able to meet you where you are and to make sure that you make it across the finish line. And many of our students that are residential even choose the online classes in order to add flexibility for their schedules. So we're ready for you, and we're ready to meet you where you are and get you across the finish line. I know that if you watch Damon Sims lead that session, you have a sense of what the student experience is at Penn State. More than 1,200 clubs and organizations, you name it, and it's here. And if you can't find it, we can help you create it that allows you to make friends and have interactions and do things that go beyond the classroom. And with Marie Harden leading a discussion about the strength of our faculty and our staff and how much they care for you as an individual, it is such a difference when you go to a university and whatever you decide to do, you can do. And especially true when you realize that so many students change their mind. Well, it doesn't matter what you change your mind to, there's Penn State with top programs, top 1% in the world in terms of delivery of higher education. And this session, which is here to talk about the outcomes, the value of a degree. And Penn State has an incredible story of how we help our students, what the outcomes are like, and the degree to which our alumni are there to support you while you're getting your degree and after you get your degree. I truly look forward to answering your questions and helping you with this momentous decision.
Thank you, Dr. Barron. And we have received many questions about the value of a Penn State education through the portal. Thank you all so much for submitting them. And we're going to try to get through as many of them as we can on this topic. So right now, let's jump right into those questions. Dr. Barron, as I said, we have gotten several comments and questions about the value of that Penn State education, such as how is the value affected by shutting down in-person classes, and comprehension and learning are better, many people fear, face-to-face and then in a real learning environment. Could you share some insight on this?
Sure. So first of all, we have a lot of science to this as well. So I just want to talk about those online versions, remote education that we've just experienced, because we had a lot of insight into how we do that and do it well. So our classes were synchronous, meaning that the entire class was there together in a virtual room. You had the chance to interact with fellow students, to see them, to listen to them, to promote a level of discussion. And so when we got to the end of the semester in the spring, with 98,000 students, we had less than 1% that we didn't get to the finish line, and perhaps for a lot of different reasons. That's comparable to what the regular classroom experience is. And over again, we're told just how effective our delivery was. Well, so even though that's the case, our anticipation is that we will be residential in the fall. And as we're working hard to move in that direction, but to do it safely for all of the students. Either way, you're making a 4-year decision. You're not making the decision for a couple of months. You're making a 4-year decision on what it is that Penn State can do for you or another university can do for you. And you should really be looking at it, in my opinion, you should really be looking at this in terms of the breadth of opportunity. The flexibility of an institution to deliver, if there's an issue like we've just experienced, and to deliver high-quality classes taught by the same faculty with the same outcomes, but balance that against the fact that you're making a decision that is going to impact the rest of your life. And that college experience is a 4-year experience.
That's a great point, Dr. Barron. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And you're right, it's so hard right now to think about things beyond the next 3 months, but it's really important to think about that in the 4 years. Thank you for
Yep.
Now, Steve, we have a question for you, and I just wanted to ask you, how did your time as a Penn State student prepare you for your career?
Thanks, Ben, and congratulations to all the incoming students. First of all, I thought I was well prepared academically. My background is in healthcare, and even as late as 15 years after graduation, I was still using a lot of the material that I learned in the classroom. But I think one of the most important things I learned at Penn State was actually how to learn, because over the course of my career, which has been fairly long, I've had a lot of mini careers within that. So I think the classroom preparation was excellent. I also had professors that supported me. And I'll tell you a quick tale here. Several years ago, now this is 30 plus years after graduating, several years ago, I ran into one of my professors at a social function up at University Park. And he started talking to me and told me exactly where I was seated in the one class I took with him. So, they took that much time to get to know you and, many years later, remember. But also the ability to engage with other alumni and with industry leaders while I was a student was very important. It gave me the chance to ask questions and explore some avenues of potential career paths. And then I guess really the other thing that was very valuable for me was the internship, which was part of the program. So that summer experience in an internship, working in a hospital, going on rounds with physicians, going through administrative tasks, that was invaluable and actually led to my first big assignment after I graduated, just a few weeks after graduation, in fact, because of a very specific experience I had in that internship. So, all in all, when I look back, I was well prepared and I've had a successful career as a result.
Steve, thank you so much for that. And you're right, that's an important thing to point out. Penn State is a big school. You're going to be in some big classes, but your teachers are still going to know who you are, and they're still going to care about you and make sure, as Dr. Barron says, they're going to get you across the finish line. Bob, as a professor at Penn State Lehigh Valley, what would you tell a student considering Penn State about the value of a Penn State degree?
Well, Ben, there are many ways to measure the value of a college education. So I'll consider a couple. I think the resources is a very important one. And Penn State is a big university, as you mentioned. The fact is that Penn State has resources that a lot of other universities don't, and that's going to give the student an outstanding education. And those resources aren't just academic in nature. Those resources are also social in nature, and that's equally important to the academics, because when you complete your degree program and you interview for a job, you need those social skills. And if you are successful in achieving both the success in the academic realm and also the social realm, then that has value. The other way of measuring value would be outcomes. And students come to Penn State University not only to gain the knowledge that they gain through their classwork, they also come to Penn State University because they want to build a career. And I can cite the Lehigh Valley experience, and that our students do get great job offers at graduation. We have students placed at IBM, at Johnson & Johnson, PPL, Merck, and a lot of other companies that are going to give the student the kind of economic freedom that they are seeking in a career with high salaries and also job stability. And that has tremendous value as well.
Thank you very much for that. And I'd love to highlight right now one of those Lehigh Valley grads who is already joining the workplace. Thank you so much, Seshel, for joining us. And I want to point out to you, again, just graduated, is moving to Georgia next week, or moving tomorrow, right? And you're going to be starting your new career next week. Congratulations on both graduating and already having a job. And you've got an inspiring story. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Yes, everyone give her a round of applause. Come on.
Thank you. Throughout my 2 years at Penn State, I started spring 2018. I was diagnosed with several health conditions. My recent health condition was breast cancer. I was diagnosed in December 2019. I had a double mastectomy in January, which was very quickly. And it was just a whole thing that was just transpiring back to back with health issues. But throughout my whole time there at Penn State, I was still attending school full time, still getting straight A's, still working with Bob Wolf on my schedule to make sure that I still maintain classes, and I was still, involved on and off campus. I was able to graduate and become student marshal, top of my class with honors. So it was, I pushed through no matter what, because I truly believe that education is the key to success as long as you set your mind to it.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And if I could follow up on you just a little bit, how did your Penn State professors, I know you called out Bob there, but how did your professors help bolster you along in that journey when you were going through some really tough times?
I just made sure that I communicated with them. As long as you communicate with your professors, no matter what the situation is, if it's health situations, personal situations, they are able to accommodate with you, and the school is able to accommodate with you as well. And I just made sure that that line of communication was open, and I just kept them up to date with me with whatever was going on, personal health, or if I just needed someone to talk to for guidance, whether it was outside the classroom or inside the classroom.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Now, Nathan, I want to ask you a couple of questions, and you are equally impressive. You're balancing playing volleyball for Penn State, being a Schreier Scholar, and making plans to become a physician. How did you manage all that, and how did Penn State support you in those goals and dreams of yours?
So yeah, between an athletic schedule and my pre-med academics, so there's a lot to do in a week. And I think what really helped me was throughout my time, just making sure to prioritize the things that I'd identified were really important to me, being, volleyball, and my academics. Something that really helped with that was surrounding myself with people that kind of shared those same goals and kind of mentalities towards those two things. So with the volleyball, that was kind of pre-programmed in, right? I had the volleyball team around me that shared that kind of passion and drive. And as a pre-med, finding, other pre-meds in my classes that also wanted to become physicians that, really pushed me and kept me on track for all of those things. And, it's not always fun, staying up late studying for an exam the next day, but, when you're around people that you almost connected with on a higher level because you share the same aspirations, after you say goodnight to them that night from studying and then you wake up the next morning and see them, they, just being surrounded by a really great group of people really makes that, a better experience, just being surrounded by friends.
Thank you, Nathan, for sharing. And, Dr. Barron isn't just the president of Penn State. You also teach classes, and you taught Nathan. You want to?
I did. It was a great experience. It's called Presidential Leadership Academy, and I teach sophomores. So it was quite a few years ago that Nathan was in my class. But it's a wonderful opportunity to have deep discussions on critical issues that then lead to leadership. But one of the wonderful things about it is I get to follow them. So this group of students, I teach 30 in the fall, but I get to follow them throughout their Penn State time. And a matter of fact, even this Friday, we just have a meet and greet. Just checking base with everybody, in this case, meeting the new students, but just the opportunity to be, they're kind of my extra family here at Penn State.
That's great. And when you see someone succeeding like Nathan here, just what does that mean to you?
Well, it means a great deal. Of course, I get to watch, and I know these students are going to be very successful just by, how articulate they are, the way they're thinking, and what it is that they're working on, the goals that they're setting. Because this is a place where if you set your goals, you can get there. You can reach there, and you have a lot of people that are willing to assist you to achieve those goals. But then you come to the end and you come to commencement and someone's off to medical school, they're off to grad school, or they've just been recruited by a major company, and this is what we're about. Feels good.
Great. Dr. Barron, we're going to stick with you for just a minute. And in this volatile job market, everyone is nervous. Everyone is wondering how they can make the best decisions. Why is higher education worth the investment?
Well, there is absolutely no doubt that degree will yield greater opportunities for jobs. We know that the college-educated population even suffered significantly less unemployment related to this pandemic. But it isn't just the college degree. There are some interesting statistics out there that if you happen to have the bottom 20% of family income and you don't have a college degree, you only have a 5 to 7% chance that by the time you're 35 years of age, you can be in the top 20%, which is above $100,000 in income. But if you go to a member of the AAU universities, of which Penn State is one, 62 top universities in the country, all of a sudden that 4, 5, 6% chance becomes 45, 55% chance. And so this really is the opportunity for upward mobility in so many, many different ways. But also, and perhaps we'll get a chance to talk about it in a little bit more detail, this is a place where corporate America loves to recruit. And we have tremendous career services that are helping students connect to jobs. So in many ways, this is a land of opportunity when it comes to future careers.
Thank you. Steve, I'm going to jump over to you because I know you've got some experience recruiting. So what does it say to you when you're coming to Penn State and you see someone's resume and they've got Penn State on that line?
Yeah, well, first of all, I take a lot of pride in interviewing and putting forward Penn State students. From a corporate perspective, and we've hired scores of students. In fact, my company, Penn State, is always either the number one or number two school that we recruit from in the U.S. every year. And Penn State's also a leader in our leadership development programs for finance and engineering. But what separates a Penn State student are several things. First of all, they're well prepared. So academics, no question. And they're all smart. So, when you get a Penn State graduate, you know that they're smart and they do well in the classroom. But more than that is the well-rounded student. So from a corporation perspective, you want somebody that's going to be able to make a more immediate contribution to the company. And Penn State students come well prepared. They come prepared to work. They have their academics in order. They have a lot of opportunities for leadership experiences, whether it's in a club, a sport, or some other opportunity. They've also had the opportunity to do research as an undergraduate, which is not something you get in every university around the country. And they come with a work ethic. So, I'm not a professional recruiter, but I've assisted our recruiters around different colleges, and even those that don't come from Penn State always comment that they wish they could hire all their college grads each year from Penn State because they could fill out all of their recruitment needs. So we have well-prepared students who are organized and come with a work ethic. So that's, you add one more attribute, frankly, and that is that community spirit. And I think a lot of that comes from the philanthropic activities, whether it be Thon, which is the largest student philanthropy in the world. Any of those experiences, you get a well-rounded student who makes a good contribution to the company.
Thank you so much for that. Dr. Barron, did you want to follow up
Well,
with that?
I did, because Steve mentioned something that he mentioned many things that were significant, but one of them is the fact that there are many major companies who will tell us that we're number one, number two in terms of the number of new employees that they have. And we see all this also borne out in national surveys. So a recent national survey ranked Penn State as fifth, right next to MIT, tied with MIT, in terms of where corporate America wants to recruit. That's quite an accomplishment. And they say the things that Steve, as a recruiter, has just said. Well-rounded, good education. These are students that have drive. And I hear over and over again that they comment on the work ethic of a Penn State student, that these are students that aren't coming in there saying, okay, what does my package look like? They're asking questions like, well, will I be upwardly mobile in your company? Do I have a chance to advance? Okay, good. This sounds like a great opportunity to me. So we see that message in terms of hiring patterns. We see the message in terms of recruiting surveys. And we also know, because thousands of companies come on our campuses every year to recruit our students. And that in itself is a message.
And this sort of goes back to your earlier point about making a decision for the next 4 years and really for your entire life and getting yourself that best possible start by coming here to Penn State.
The key is a career, and one that you love, and being able to access that and have a great life.
Thank you, sir. Bob, I'd like to ask you a question now. And when you hear a story about Sashel and she called you out there talking about how you encouraged her, just how does that make you feel?
Well, if I did have a part in, if I did play a part in convincing Seychelle to attend Penn State, then all I can say is I'm very proud to have done that, because Seychelle is truly an awesome student. Seychelle excels at everything she does. Seychelle was our student marshal for 2020. She is a member of Lambda Pi Eta, the National Communication Honor Society, and she was an active member of our local Lehigh Valley Communication Society. Seychelle, she endeavors to earn the highest grade she possibly can. And what Seychelle said earlier about experiencing the medical difficulties that she did, I want to add to that, because what she didn't say is that she didn't stop. A lot of students would have said, "Oh, I need to take a break. I need to maybe take a year off." Not Seychelle. She persevered. She moved on with her degree program. I sat down with Seychelle, and she gave me the information. We worked together to establish an online-based semester for her, and she underwent medical procedures while she was working on her classes, and she still excelled in her coursework. As far as I'm concerned, Seychelle represents the kind of student that Penn State is proud to have, and we're proud to say that she's from Lehigh Valley as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. And Seychelle, while you were doing all that, you also started your own business, and you got some help from the Lehigh Valley Launchbox. Can you tell me, if people are unfamiliar with the Launchboxes, they help people to create a business and help you network. So how did they help you?
Well, Lehigh Valley Launchbox, it's Lehigh Valley Launchbox Ladies. It is a networking-based organization that provides small micro grants, usually between $5,000 to $10,000, and it helps you start your own business. You can either be a faculty member, a student, staff, or just even like an alumni like myself. And they provide mentorships, business resources, and even legal advice. And what they do is usually we host about like 2 events a month, and we provide these networking events, and it's like a stance of just letting people in the business world know how to become a business, the resources that you can have to become a business, and just the proper way to go about it.
Thank you so much. And we have those launch boxes at throughout the Commonwealth campuses. So no matter where you go, you're going to be close to one, and they can help you start a business if that's something that you'd be interested in. Nathan, I have a follow-up question for you. And we talked about your desire to become a physician. And given everything that's going on right now, how has that influenced you?
When I think about the pandemic that we're currently facing as a society, there's some things I identify, such as kind of this uncertainty for the future, kind of fear in the future. And these are kind of themes that not only apply to this pandemic situation, but kind of are seen broadly throughout healthcare. Kind of the first time I kind of identified those human components of healthcare was actually at Penn State, when I shadowed a physician at Mount Nittany Medical Center. And something that really struck me about the care that she delivered wasn't just her medical and scientific knowledge of diseases, disease progression, and treating them, but also that she was able to kind of look at the individual patient, integrate their own personal fears and uncertainty and their aspirations into the care that she delivered. So just kind of those components of healthcare, and that we're seeing very tangibly in the pandemic, kind of, I think, inspired me to become a physician, inspired a lot of people in healthcare to go into healthcare, and make me want to be the best doctor that I can possibly be.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Barron, what does Penn State offer beyond other institutions when comes time to graduate and look for a job?
So I think what you do is look at the cumulative part of it. Very strong career services function with individuals that are dedicated to help you finding a job. I met my class on Zoom in the spring, and And one person was graduating, and she said, I just assumed that all my interviews were over and that I wasn't going to have that experience. And I got a call from somebody in career services, and they said, would you like us to set up all your interviews on Zoom? So that's not the normal mode. That's not the mode that you will experience, but that's a signal that here are a group of people that are ready to help you find a great career. You add to that the career fairs, the literally hundreds of corporations that come on campus, the preparation that is provided by experts that are here. Then you also see that Penn State has a tremendous network in its alumni network, and that alumni network has a tremendous value. We heard from Steve the degree to which he looks at applications and he spots a Penn Stater and looks for certain conditions, and he passes that on. And so many of these recruiters that come to campus are Penn Staters. The companies want to recruit Penn Staters, so they send Penn Staters to be the ones that help recruit. So when you start to think about the fact that we have the largest dues-paying alumni association in the world, and there's this tremendous sense of community that wherever you see someone wearing something that says Penn State, all you have to do is say "we are," and you immediately get Penn State, and there is an immediate camaraderie that you literally have hundreds of thousands of people out there that help you be successful. And interestingly, a lot of those individuals are very well placed. LinkedIn just did a survey not too long ago about the number of CEOs in American companies. Where big national companies, where did the CEOs come from? And, people might expect that you would say Stanford and Harvard. Well, the interesting thing about it is Stanford was 1, Penn State was 2, and Harvard was 3 in that LinkedIn survey. So this even tells you the power of this network, the power of and the value of the degree that here are these individuals becoming CEOs of major companies, but also the power of that network. So I would say great education, taking advantages of the experiences, realizing that there are all these services of people that want to help you get a great career, the degree to which corporations come here for many different reasons, and having an alumni network that is very powerful.
Dr. Barron, if I can add a point to this, it doesn't also have to wait until graduation. I've been a mentor in the health administration program for a number of years, and my current protege, we got connected when she was only a sophomore, which is kind of unusual, but she's a very good and unusual student in a positive way. And we first got connected in the spring of her sophomore year. And she said, I really like the chance to shadow. I think I want to work in a children's hospital, and I'd love to shadow for a day or two. And I said, well, I happen to know that the children's hospital here in town has 4 or 5 Penn State alumni that I've gotten to know over the years. Let me place a call and see if somebody will host you for a day or two. And I called all the alums, and they all called back pretty much right away. And typically they take juniors. But one of the administrators said, I'd be happy to have her shadow me for a couple of days. So I made the introduction. She went down there at the beginning of the summer. After the first couple of days, he said, why don't you stick around for a couple of weeks? So she did, and it turned into, in that case, a non-paying internship for that entire summer. But by the end of the summer, they offered her an opportunity to do some work during the school year, and they gave her a paying internship the following summer between her junior and senior year. So again, the network is important, and I would just urge all the incoming students to get to know the alumni when they come into the classrooms, at special panel events at night, and participate in mentoring programs, because that could be the door that opens for you for either an internship experience or a career experience for the longer term.
Thank you for that, Steve. Dr. Barron,
No, I was just going to add to that briefly because we heard Nathan talk about shadowing. We heard Steve talk about enabling someone to do some shadowing. And you add to that all of the internship possibilities at Penn State. And internships are typically a ticket to a job. Not only that, they get to see you and you get to see them. And many companies hire exclusively out of their intern pool. So the fact that Penn State really works hard through connections with corporations and through alumni to give people give our students those experiences is also a huge factor in career success.
thank you for that. And I thought it was interesting when you were referencing those different statistics and the fact that Penn State is one of the best in getting people started in their career and both making it to the top with the CEO. So I think that's wonderful how Penn State supports people as they continue through their career. And Sachel, I have a follow-up question for you. I understand that, as we said in the beginning, you're getting ready to start your job. First of all, how are you excited? And how did Penn State get you set up to be, starting right away, even in the middle of all this?
Well, I'm gonna be accepting a job as an account executive down in Georgia at a marketing firm. And I was just working with career services, I want to say about like a year ago, just working on my resume and working on my LinkedIn profile, which is very, very important. I think once you start Penn State, you might as well just get a LinkedIn profile and start networking from there. I was networking from like my internships, adding people from internship, adding people from Lunchbox Ladies, and adding people from Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm moving. And I was networking with people down there, and that's actually where I ended up finding the job. And I actually did my interview through Zoom. I did my first interview, and then I got called back for a second interview through Zoom, which was kind of different. Without Penn State not preparing me, I don't know how I would have done it. And they prepared me for Zoom because I've never used Zoom a day in my life. So that was also different. So they definitely prepared me for that. And, without Penn State, I don't know how I would have done it. They prepared me for a professional job before I even graduated. So that was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Dr. Barron, if I can send it back to you again, you hear a sound like that, talking about how much Penn State prepared someone and didn't think they could have done it without Penn State. Just what does that say to you about, the commitment of the university?
Well, something, I'm always impressed with how personal it is. That the number of times that someone is talking about the personal connections, the number of times that someone has some event happen in their lives, and they talk about the personal connection that Penn State provides. And people don't always think of that big university as having that degree of interaction and intent, and that we're here to help. And so it really makes me feel proud.
We've talked a couple of times in some of the past sessions on, yes, there are some big classes, especially when you get started, but once you work your way into your major, you really shrink down and you're with those people one-on-one.
I think people would be surprised at the number of ways in which a big place can become small. You can't make a small place big. You can't provide that breadth of research opportunities for an undergraduate, or the breadth of majors, or the ability to cross different disciplines, or to do more than one thing. But the freshman experience, the clubs, the interactions, the sports, the teamwork within campuses and colleges really quickly make Penn State feel like a tight-knit community. It's an important part of what Penn State is all about.
Thank you, sir. And Nathan, he mentioned sports and teams and a tight-knit community. And just what would you say to a potential student about the value of a Penn State degree and the Penn State experience?
I think Penn State has the advantage of being such a big school that no matter who you are, what interests you have, you're going to find, like President Barron said, that community for you. There's so many opportunities. That's been, just to reiterate. And like for me, one of the opportunities I took advantage of was the early assurance program at Penn State, which is basically you just fulfill some requirements and you apply to medical school. a year in your sophomore year. So in just having something like that to kind of just streamline my whole medical school process, which can be a really stressful time. And next year I'll be going to the Penn State College of Medicine, which is the program that you apply to through this early assurance program. And just now I'm going to a medical school that has an amazing set of values and incredible mission, and just has a perspective on medicine that just really aligns with mine. So just that kind of support just makes the degree so special, and Penn State's such a special place. And apart from that, like, no matter how niche or how unusual you think your interests are, there's going to be a place for you. So like one of my weird, unusual interests is actually, I'm really interested in like vintage watches, right? So I love, the history, I love the mechanisms and all of that. And, I have a hard time finding a place to, an outlet for that, because there's not many people who are into that, right? So, but coming to Penn State and finding, people, not only people that were interested in it, but people who wanted to talk about it, that were my age, just proved that no matter how unusual, how niche you think your interests are, there's a place for you to, pursue them or share them on the Penn State campus.
That's great. Dr. Barron mentioned there were 1,200 student clubs. So as Nathan said, doesn't matter what you're into, you're going to find some people here that like it too, and you're going to have that small, tight-knit community of people that you can interact with and have fun with while you're getting a quality education. Thank you. Dr. Barron, you've talked about this a couple of times already, and people always talk about Penn State having that largest alumni network. And what does this do for students and for alumni when they're looking for a job?
Yeah, so we had some discussion about the role of Penn Staters in different positions being enablers, enablers to shadow someone or to do an internship or to give a leg up on a particular job. But the breadth of it is tremendous because of the number of active organizations around the U.S. and around the world. So, something can happen and an alumni group from a different country sends something or greetings or welcome, and so we feel that tremendous sense of community. Many students, when asked, will say that they actually chose a university not for the educational programs, but for the potential of what it can deliver, with number one on the list being the network that you become a part of when you get a degree. So that Penn State network is incredibly broad, incredibly deep, just like the university is, and such a strong sense of community. As I said, there's something about just wear something with Penn State on it, and it won't take long before someone will be saying, we are to you, and greeting you, and you instantly have a connection. It's incredibly valuable.
Thank you, sir. And Steve, as we mentioned earlier, you're a former president of the Alumni Association. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, we talk about this being a 4-year venture commitment. I look at it a little bit differently. This is a lifelong commitment. You'll do 4 years at the university in your academics, maybe an internship or some other experiences, research. But at the end of it, you get to meet a lot of dynamic alumni who come back to whichever campus it is because they want to be there and they want to engage with students. And I would encourage all the incoming students to take advantage of those opportunities. Alumni come back and engage because they like doing it. They like engaging the students. The students today are incredibly bright. They ask questions that I never would have thought of as a student. And we like to engage. And we add to that network that Seychelle was speaking about. And in many cases, we can help provide some guidance to the work world or the professional world, if it's a medical school or a law school that somebody's looking to go to. And then once you graduate, there are roughly 300 chapters, societies and alumni interest groups, not only all over the US, but around the world. So if somebody says, well, I'm going back to California, which is, my home state after graduation, I would say, well, we have 19,000 alumni in California and several alumni chapters. So please, when you move back, be sure to engage. So that's the power of the network. More than 700,000 living alumni across the globe.
Thank you so much, all of you. That was great. And now we're going to do something just a little bit fun. We're going to do some lightning round questions. If you've been watching for these past few sessions, you know that means fast questions, short answers. So if I could ask everyone on Zoom to unmute your microphones, because they'll be coming a little bit quicker now. Dr. Barron, we're going to start with you. Architecturally speaking, do you have a favorite building on campus?
I love Old Botany, which is ancient, surrounded by trees, and walking over to the Millennium Science Building, which is modern, high-tech, even an electron microscope buried under the ground in floating rooms to remove vibrations.
Doesn't that say a lot about Penn State? You talk about the breadth of experience. We also have the breadth of the classic old architecture and the state-of-the-art buildings.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Steve, do you have a favorite building when you come back?
I guess I have a couple of them. First of all, I enjoy the Hintz Family Alumni Center because it feels like home. But I also always marveled at the architecture of Old Main. And as a student, I really never walked in there. But as an alum, when I walked in there, I learned about the fresco that adorns the wall and tells a little bit of the history during Abe Lincoln's time. So those are probably the two that come to mind most.
Bob, favorite spot on your campus?
It's the new addition that we're building at Penn State Lehigh Valley, 21,000 square foot addition. And we were blessed by Dr. Barron's presence for the groundbreaking earlier in the spring. And we're thrilled to have it.
Seychelle, favorite spot?
Professor Wolf's office.
Well, that's got to make you feel good. Nathan,
Yeah.
Nathan, what's your favorite spot on campus?
My favorite spot has to be Rec Hall. For those that don't know, that's just where men's and women's volleyball, wrestling, and gymnastics have all their sporting events. And it's also, just a gym to play basketball in for just the community. Even fly fishing classes sometimes in Rec Hall. It's just where, we played and have a lot of great memories on that court.
And what was your
Ben, also this little stadium that's in my picture frame here is great for several Saturdays in the fall.
Absolutely. Nathan, what was your first impression when you saw Penn State for the first time?
My first impression was how beautiful the campus is. And apart from that, when I started to meet people, I really enjoyed that you could feel right off the bat, there was a very collaborative community rather than a competitive one, which is huge, especially as a pre-med student. I really wanted to be in a place that valued collaboration.
It is a beautiful campus. Seychelle, first thing that came to your mind?
I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be my second home. So I basically was like living on campus at one point. I would stay there. I would be there like 8 o'clock in the morning to like 6 o'clock at night.
Well, we're glad that you chose to have us as your second home. And class of 2024, this will be your home as well. Steve, what is your fondest memory of your time as a Penn State student?
Wow, so many of them. It's where I met my wife, and we spent 3 years in the same college at Penn State. So that's probably my fondest memory.
Bob, what is your favorite place to take a picture on your campus?
Oh, by the Nittany Lion Shrine. Absolutely.
All right, Seychelle, back to you. How many times have you taken a selfie at the Nittany Lion Shrine?
So many times. I think like almost like every morning I would just like go on Instagram and just go like that, real quick.
Nathan, are you a big Instagrammer?
Yep, I'm on Instagram. There's a couple of pictures of me with the Nittany Lion Shrine up there too.
Okay. Steve, we're going to go to you. What is your best advice for an incoming student?
My best advice is get involved early and often. Don't be shy. It just takes one reach out to get engaged.
Bob, same question?
Same answer. Engage. The students that engage do well.
Seychelle, you just graduated. Congratulations. You've got a job you're about to start. What's your best advice?
My best advice is that knowledge is power. Without knowledge, you can't do anything. So always aim high.
Nathan, you're about to start medical school. You're a grad. Congratulations to you as well. What's your best advice?
Kind of similar, find as many opportunities as you can and find as many people who share your career goals and your aspirations as well while you're at school.
Thank you. Dr. Barron, would you like to give the final advice and sort of wrap up this series for us?
Sure. Thank you so much for listening and for providing your questions. We appreciate the opportunity to answer them. Just to reiterate a few things, you're really not making the decision for what the next couple of months will bring. You're making a decision for what the next 4 years will bring. And at Penn State, we're not only flexible, we're really good at what it is that we do in achieving that mission, which is making sure that you get a great education, that you have a great career path, that you can be a lifelong learner. It's incredibly important that in a society that demands flexibility and resilience, that you have those opportunities that allow you to be a lifelong learner. And we have great outcomes with CEOs, with opportunities with recruiters, with the breadth of our degrees. And so I encourage you to think about this with a long-term view of what it is that a Penn State degree means. And I promise you, with your work ethic and your intelligence and our commitment, you won't just be watching what's going on in the world. You'll be running the future. That's our commitment to you. Thanks for listening.
Great advice. Thank you all for answering questions today, and thank you all for submitting those questions today. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you had some fun with us, and I hope we answered those questions. If you have follow-up, you can submit them through the Google form, and we'll do our best to answer these questions as they come in. As I said before, videos of all 4 discussions will be archived at this website, classof2024.psu.edu. Thank you all again, and welcome to the Penn State community.